In this chapter, we'll look at what, how, and for whom goods and services get produced in the global economy. The world's 7.1 billion and rising population lives in 176 economies, which the International Monetary Fund classifies into two broad categories or groups: the advanced economies and the emerging market and developing economies. Economies are the richest 29 countries or areas. The United States, Japan, Italy, Germany, France, the United Kingdom, and Canada belong to this group. Four new industrial Asian economies are Hong Kong, South Korea, Singapore, and Taiwan. Other advanced economies include Australia, New Zealand, and most of the Western Europe. Almost 1 billion people, that is 15% of the world's population, live in the advanced economies. Emerging market and developing economies. Emerging market economies are 28 countries of Central and Eastern Europe and Asia. Almost 500 million people live in these countries, about half of the number in the advanced economies. These countries are important because they are emerging from the system of state-owned production, central economic planning, and heavily regulated markets moving towards a system of free enterprise and unregulated markets. Developing economies. Developing economies are the 119 countries in Africa, Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and Central and South America. More than 5.5 billion people, that is almost 4 out of every 5 people, live in the developing economies. Developing economies vary enormously in size, in the level of average income, and the rate of growth of production and incomes. But in all the developing economies, average income is rare are much lower than those in the advanced economies, and in some cases they are extremely low. 5 emerging market and developing economies representing 3 billion people or 42% of the world's population and known as BRICS, which includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, hold regular meetings to draw attention to their development problems. Now let's study the first problem, what in the global economy, that is the share of total production of goods and services by advanced countries and the developing countries. As shown in the pie chart, the United States produces 19% of the world's total goods and services, the Euro area 14%, and other advanced economies 17%. The advanced economies produces 50% of the global output. BRICS economies contribute 28%, and China with 15% of the world output dominates this group. The remaining 22% of the world output comes from emerging market and developing economies in Africa, Asia, the Middle East, and the Western Hemisphere. Similarities and differences in what is produced between developing and advanced economies. Developing economies are mainly manufacturing economies, have large and growing industries which produce textiles, footwear, sports gears, toys, electronic goods, furniture, steel, and even automobiles and aeroplanes. Food production is a small part of the US and other advanced economies, and a large part of the developing economies, such as Brazil, China, and India. But the advanced economies produce about 1/3 of the world's food, and the total production is much larger in advanced economies than the developing economies. The structure of what is produced is similar in all advanced economies. As percentage of the total economy, agriculture and manufacturing is small and shrinking, whereas services are large and expanding in these advanced economies. The next problem is how in the global economy are the differences in the production of goods and services in advanced and developing countries. Each country or region has its own blend of factors of production, but there are some interesting common patterns and crucial differences between the advanced and developing economies. Human capital differences. Advanced economies have much higher level of human capital. Education level are the handiest measure of human capital. In advanced economies, such as the United States, almost everyone has completed high school, and 30% of the US population has completed 4 years or more of college. In contrast, in developing economies, the proportion of the population who has completed high school or has a college degree is small. In the poorest of the developing economies, many children even miss out on basic primary education, they just don't go to school at all. On the job training and experience are also much less extensive in the developing economies than in the advanced economies. Physical capital differences. Another major feature of an advanced economy that differentiates from a developing economy is the amount of capital available for producing goods and services. The differences begin with the basic transportation system. In the advanced economies, a well developed highway system connects all the major cities and points of production. But in developing economies, trucks and cars mainly operate inside and around major cities. The more advanced the economy, the greater the amount and sophistication of the capital equipment used in production. For whom in the global economy? This is the last problem, that is income distribution within economies and across the world. The personal distribution of income in the world economy is much more unequal. According to World Bank data, the lowest paid 20% of the world's population receives 2% of the world income, and the highest paid 20% receives about 70% of the world income. The international distribution. Much of the greater inequality at the global level arises from differences in average income among countries. It shows the dollar value of what people can afford each day on average. The cross section data below shows that in 2012, the average income per person per day in the US was $137, which is 5 times the world average. $93 in Euro area, $49 in Russia. The number falls to $25 in China, $10 in India, and $7 in Africa. That's all for this chapter. Thanks for watching.